Hello and welcome to the Creative Monitor podcast, where I sit down with creatives to discuss their process, where they are in their journeys, and the future of their respective channels and communities. Today's guest is none other than Martin5050, who is known mainly for the project What Remains, which unofficially holds the world record for the longest machinima, or film using the video game engine on the YouTube platform. Today, we talk about his path as a GTA creator, the status of the Machinima community as a whole, and advice for new people coming into the film genre. I'm Camden Crawford, and thank you for tuning in. Well, welcome, Martin, to the show. How are you, my friend? I guess?
No. Seriously,
we tried. So for everyone who doesn't know, which I don't expect anyone to know, Martin and I tried to do this podcast on my original show, Innovative FM, and my file was corrupted. Also, some questions and answers in there. Actually, the answers got changed, after
really?
Almost 2 weeks after. And so,
wow.
What do you mean? Wow, you know?
Yeah, I know that. I knew that, but I didn't know that was it on a docs or how did that happen? I didn't know.
No, it was just that we. Oh, so the file.
The questions, yeah.
So basically, I had my file on my computer, and it was working fine, and I had the video done, but for some reason there was a corruption with the audio, and so I had to re-download it. The problem is I made a mistake, and I deactivated one of my emails, and that email had a lot more stuff on it than I realized. It had a ton of lines for my big project Caspian Prime. It had your podcast, and I thought I re-downloaded it all. Clearly, I didn't, and so it's
yeah, that makes sense now. I was like, well, how do you how does it happen? But
damn,
I'm sorry.
It was on the desktop. It was good. It just got corrupted, and I thought I had a backup to my backup, and I clearly didn't, and so it turned out for the better, because now you and I are able to sit down, have a meaningful conversation again, and you're on the new show instead of the old show. It's a good time.
It all works out.
And so we had
well, luckily,
for what? Sorry.
Yeah, so that's it kind of worked out in my favor. I felt like I did bad on the last one.
No, not at all. I think there is some more questions I wish I asked too, and so I'm glad I'm getting the second chance to really hone in on those and really get to talk about you. And I think we should start out with that. I kind of did an intro in the beginning for what you're about and some information on you, but can you tell me about yourself from your personality, from your take and your own words, and maybe talk about your journey thus far?
All right. Well. Hi, my name's Martin5050. I'm a machinima director for GTA 5. I create a lot of different types of machinimas. My most prominent one to this date is What Remains, that 4-hour epic.
Which we'll get to.
Hopefully, because that's a long film. I basically, before doing machinima, I was a YouTuber. I kind of messed around, did a lot of funny moments, just gaming with my friends and stuff. But that's basically it. I'm just a machinima director and a YouTuber.
Awesome. And I think that's kind of where I want to start out, looking back at where you started, so we can kind of get a grasp as to where you're going now, where you are now, and where you're heading. And so I think a good way to start with that is you worked a lot on GTA music videos and different content, kind of getting familiar with GTA as an engine. And so you created films like Martial's Law with that Grand Theft Auto 5 engine. So what got you inspired to actually jump into this machinima scene and make your own films for say through Grand Theft Auto?
Basically it started when I first started YouTube. I was really big into Grand Theft Auto. That was kind of the only game I had that all my friends had, and so I would just record. Had my Elgato, and recorded just messing around on the game and playing online with them. It wasn't until around 2015, 2016 is where I started realizing wait, they came out with the new update, the Rockstar editor on Xbox for Grand Theft Auto. And I was like, oh wait, this is kind of cool. I can like record previous game sessions, you know, and edit the camera, you know, cut and paste it and everything, and then upload it to YouTube. So I was like, I could do that, but make like music videos out of it, like popular songs during that time, which I did a lot of, and I they're very cringe now, and they're not that good, but um, actually like my most popular video, it's not on my channel now, but it's unlisted, was a I don't know if you know the song by 21 Pilots, but Heathens. It was
Yes.
when Suicide Squad was coming out and everything.
The best movie from DC,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Oh, it's a masterpiece. As popular as Morbius, but basically,
Did I leave you lost for words there?
yeah, exactly. No, that was the most popular song at the time, so it explains why that's the most popular like video I have, pretty much. It's bad, but and there's a reason why it's unlisted. But basically, when I first started, I did a lot of music videos, and I just realized, hey, I could do a lot with this. And then one of my friends kind of talked to me and said, you could kind of make a film out of like these clips and stuff, you know. And that we started realizing that right after the Heathens video. So I was like, yeah, I can make like a, a, a show or a TV, and I had the idea of making like a superhero TV show, and it kind of just like a snowball effect. It kind of just like kept going and going. And I finally came up with the idea of making like little short films. So I made like a World War II sort of like Normandy beach style film, and that was like my first introductory to like the Machinima community and everything. And that's kind of how I introduced to a lot of the people we know now today, like the hub and everything. But yeah, that kind of introduced me to the Machinima community and how to really like direct something. So that short film right there, I think it was called like Brothers of War or something like that. It's also unlisted. I just have a lot of unlisted videos, but that one was like the first film that I actually made that I was like, wow, I can actually make a story out of these clips. And then it led into martial law right after that. So
Right. So how did those so going from those music videos, Marshall's Law, as we talked about,
yeah.
and so what kind did you just enjoy it from there? Like, what kind of brought you to get to the point where you're like, I'm gonna keep doing this and make my whole channel basically machinima?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people, like right at that starting, they'll make some what you call cringy or crappy
Yeah.
older videos, as we like to
Yeah.
call them, and then we'll be like, this is not my thing, and we'll move on. What kind of aspect really grasped you into sticking on this scene, and actually, even though it's a not so rewarding as far as view count and subscriber count,
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
it's something that takes a lot of time. So what kept you actually motivated to keep working in this scene?
Yeah. That's a good question actually. Honestly, since I was like young, I've always wanted to create stuff, you know. I even had like ideas of making my own video games and stuff like that. And I guess it really just comes down to like me wanting to like express that creativity and really just I have like a vision for pretty much any kind of story, and I just need to get it out. But I really like the biggest dream I would have like to this day actually is to become like an actual director or like a cinematographer or something in the movie film industry, you know. So I guess that's kind of why I stick to it. It's just something that I'm very passionate about. I stick with machinimas because it's my own way of like it's a budget friendly like way of making a film essentially. Because I mean I have the game and it only takes a free recording software to upload it to YouTube. So I mean it definitely is something that I love, but eventually I would like to actually do the real thing, make real films. But for right now, I absolutely love it just because I have so much control over like the clips and like the camera movement, and I can get it somewhere where you possibly couldn't in real life, you know. But yeah, I guess it's just wanting to express my creativity.
Which is something that is awesome for us starting filmmakers, is that machinima gives us the camera angles that we would need a huge drone setup for, or a multi-million-dollar budget for some of the ideas that we want to create. We have
Exactly.
to,
Yes.
with this we can hire voice actors and actresses that are starting out, which it's not, and so they are, realistically, we're being honest here, is aren't going to cost as much as a professional voice actress or actor,
Yeah.
that has
Hmm.
done this in the industry for years. We can make there's camera angles that are impossible in real life that we can do in a video game because
Yeah.
we're
Exactly.
freeform. We have, like, because with the theater or the Rockstar editor, we can go pretty much at any angle, move at any time. The film industry, you have one camera angle or two, three camera angles that you've decided, and that is,
Hmm.
and if it doesn't work out, you have to restart the whole thing. And so
And it costs money to
it
do that.
costs so much
Exactly.
money
Yeah.
to do that. And so I think
Yeah.
this is what's so interesting about Machinima, is how we're able to basically have as much freedom as we want for a budget of
Hmm.
$0. Um,
No, I completely agree with that. Like you said, it costs a lot of money to reshoot, and also like with like a machinima, like you said, like with reshooting, like they tend to have like a studio or something over their head to make sure that they're doing it right and not wasting money. With this, yeah, you're right. It's like a freelancer kind of opportunity where you have so much control that it's truly your story.
and I guess, like, when we're talking about how low budget our craft is, I think I don't know if this is fully entered the GTA community, but something that has become more and more apparent in the Halo community is, like, when it started out back in the early, I don't want to say early 2010s because it started before
Hmm.
then, but even getting into that, when Halo Reach came out, there's a lot of low budget, like, it looked very, very bad. It looked
Yeah.
like camcorder machinima
Yeah.
projects. And now I feel like, do you feel the sense that there's actually, like, a standard that, like, you actually have to sometimes pay money to get actors and actresses? It's not just your friends. You have to have some sort of VFX or some gimmick to add to your films to make them more prominent, for almost still at a quarter of the views, but having to put all this extra work in to make it as much as grand as possible. Because before then, we didn't even
Hmm.
have these tools. Back in the early
Yeah.
2010s, we had basically, here is the theater mode, here's the Rockstar editor, make your
Yeah.
film, good luck. And now we have, almost all of us have access to, like, Adobe Premiere.
Hmm.
We all know an animator or a professional editor, someone who can sound design.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
how do you see how this industry has transformed? Like, I say industry, but we're not making money.
It,
But how do you see this industry of, like, how much we've had to put a lot more of our own personal money into these projects just to make them monetary successful and to be at the standard as our competition?
honestly, like truly though, I'm thinking like machinima community, like this machinima industry, if you want to call it that. It's almost starting to become its own sort of like you said, the industry. I mean, yeah, we don't make enough views or like a lot of views like movies or films. Um, but I do see that like the more you put into something, the better the quality is. That's what I took. It took me a long time to learn that, honestly. I mean, yeah, you kind of have to spend money to actually have good quality, but I mean, you really don't need that much for a machinima. Like, I would say probably the most like a costly like investment would probably be voice actors,
Mm-hmm.
but even then you can get your friends to record. As long as you have like a cheap mic, you can record your friends doing the lines and stuff like that. And in fact, there's a machinima that I know specifically that has like 100,000 views or something. I think it's called, I believe it's called Jack Cole. It could be something else, but I believe it's Jack Cole. I'll send you the link later. But that guy right there, he created a series that has over at least half a million views total, and he all he had was his friends recording lines, and it was just his editing software and stuff. So I truly think, uh, how much you put in is how much you get out, essentially. And I definitely agree that the machinima industry, it's becoming an industry. I mean, you have Red versus Blue. I mean, back then Red versus Blue was coming like around 20 early late 2010s, I would believe, like around 20
I mean,
two
it
thousand
started out
six
back
and
in
somewhere
the
around there,
Halo
right?
Combat Evolved days. And so
Yes,
it
yes.
moved from the
It
early
was
2000s
something
all
that
the way
was
through.
starting, yeah, and it started a whole company essentially,
Yes, all by
Rooster Teeth.
itself, it started a whole
Yeah.
company.
So I mean, if something like that can happen, now that's a machinima. I mean, machinimas are I guarantee like in about 10 years machinimas are gonna be like a staple in like YouTube history, and they're gonna be something bigger than they are right now. I truly believe
So
that.
I actually do want to touch on that because there's a lot of people who believe that the concept of machinima is dead, and how machinima hasn't, like, especially in the Halo industry that I'm personally in. There has been a significant drop off from what we consider the golden age of Halo machinima, where the Arbiter
Hmm.
617s, the Evan Royalties, the
Oh
Mike
yeah,
WBs,
yeah.
all these popular people that made it what it was, all left, and no one seemed to fill the void. There's been some
Hmm.
people who have come out and like have been able to break that mold. People like the Great Isaiah, who's gained
Hmm.
almost 300,000 views on his zombie matchmaking series. I know that's not the name, but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
series. And but for the most part, it's very hard to even gain 10,000 views unless you're like Nightmare Films. And I feel like that's the same with like the GTA community almost, because where a few years ago it used to gain 1 to 10 million views on a
Hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
the videos, like about like 4 to 6 years ago I'd say. And but now it's like hard to even gain 5,000 views, and like Being Proud is getting
Yeah,
over a
yeah.
thousand views. So do you see how, like, do you find that
I
there's a way that this actually can have a resurgence? And because you seem
I
very
I
confident.
do. Yeah, I do actually. I genuinely think like and this kind of leads into probably another like thing we could talk about, but I feel like the machinima community is kind of like split almost. Like every game has like its own game hub essentially. Like with Halo content creators or Halo machinima creators, they all stick to like one sort of like community. While we have like GTA, like for GTA machinima creators, we all have one community as well. So I feel like we're all kind of like split and doing our own thing. But eventually, I feel like if we all do work together or something like that, where we all join together, it could personally be like a big community, like something that could get millions of views if we build a community strong enough for that. But yeah, no, what you mentioned, Evan Royalty and everything. Yeah, I used to watch that guy, and he did like just went off and did his own thing, and
He's making amazing content now. Like he has
yeah,
some. He's
exactly.
actually making small budget films through the SCP universe, which are
Yes, yes,
amazing pieces of work. But
mhm.
I feel like with when those staple people left, I feel like Halo community had a huge hole, and I don't know how this translates to the GTA community. Maybe there was people. You can talk about
I
how there's some people maybe who left
yeah,
that, but in the Halo community, I think also a big thing that happened with us is we had game after game after game. We had Halo 3 was
yes,
where it hit hard. 3 years later, we had Halo Reach. A lot of Forge support, a lot of theater
mm,
support. Then we had, right afterwards, 2 years later, we had Halo 4.
Halo
It
4,
didn't
yep,
have the best mechanics, but there was
yeah,
still, we had a huge community that was still making Halo because we got a new Halo game in 2 years. 3 years later, we get Halo 5. There's no Forge,
mhm.
there's no theater, and it doesn't come until a year later. And even though the Forge was amazing, it is the best in the series by far.
Oh, I definitely agree. I'm a huge Forge fan. Like I don't really like dude, Machinima's on Halo, but I remember playing Halo Reach and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I used to create like monster
Uh-huh.
jams and like with Warhawks and
Right.
everything. And not Grand Halo 5 truly does have a really good Forge.
But I
Like
think the problem
it's
with that became is that we didn't have the one, it was hard to learn, and so it took a lot of
yeah, it
time.
was.
But if it was given at launch, I think the community would have been more accepting. The problem was
Mhm.
is by the time we didn't have, it was a different multiplayer. The campaign wasn't well received. We didn't have a Forge at the start, so the custom games couldn't be made, and a lot of community members already left, and there wasn't new people wanting to come in. And
Yeah,
now
okay.
and now
Yeah.
we're waiting. We waited another 7 years for another Halo game, And
And they don't even have Forge,
we
right?
don't have Forge.
Yeah.
Custom games is semi broken. We don't have weapon luring except some cheats that people have found out. Like Matt Wong,
Yeah.
GrumpyElite, Nate Spidey have all found out different cheats to be able to lower your weapons just to maintain some time until we're given that option. But I think that's the huge problem in our side of the community
It's
is that we're not given the tools. And I think maybe this can be said for you guys with GTA 5 being
I was just
there
about, yeah.
forever, no 6 in sight.
Exactly. I'm like, it's been about 10 years now. We gotta get something, you know. But no, I feel like it's honestly quite the opposite. Like we don't have game after game after game. It's we're kind of stuck with what we have, and I will say that there is like a big quality gap between like each console, I would say. Um, with GTA, like with Xbox and PlayStation, they both have similar, controls, and like you can't mod them, but with PC, there is literally the options are limitless. Like you have mods that can like transform your game into a entirely different game, and that's where I see that's probably where the directors kind of drop off and everything is because there's a big quality difference between everything. But with like Halo, I honestly you're kind of at the helms at 343 right now with you don't have a choice on the next game because they haven't updated it or they haven't updated it correctly or something, But with GTA, I mean we kind of are just waiting for the next game. I feel like, and that's not even if they're gonna add Rockstar Editor because I would have expected it to be in Red Dead Redemption 2, but it's not. So, and that would be an amazing game to put Rockstar Editor in for sure.
And I think that's what's interesting is Machinima used to be very much it was almost a free advertising for companies. But now it
Yeah,
doesn't seem
yeah.
like the most important thing. Even though like with Halo Infinite, they are getting people from Rooster Teeth to help them with tools from
Hmm.
Machinima, it still is not the most important thing on their radar, and that has to do with our community dropping off. I mean, we used to
Yeah.
get a couple million views on most of our videos. I mean, but the last multi-million viewed video I can remember is The Running Dead back in Halo Reach. And from Nightmare
Yeah,
Film,
yeah,
that
yeah.
gained like 3 million views or something, 2 million views. And that was the last one I can remember. I'm sure there's more, but
Hmm.
that was the last, and that was a few years. That was years ago, and it's
I will say that. Oh, sorry. I will say that. The community, my GTA community is actually switching more into like 5M, so like the modded like server multiplayer
Mhm.
servers. So a lot of the content that comes out of that it comes from those servers. So like you might actually get like role playing servers, and that's a huge thing. Like just in GTA community general is like role playing, and that's what a lot of the new directors and stuff do nowadays is they make servers and stuff and promote it, and they use Rockstar Editor to do that. So they use like animations and stuff for the PC and everything like with the mods. So that's kind of where that's heading. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the 5M servers and everything, but you really can't like make a story out of that. I mean, like a actual like control your characters and everything. You're kind of at the whims of like other players, and that's dangerous in its own.
but also with
Um,
that, there's like at least there's an evolving. You guys have had one game,
yeah, that's
and
true.
we've had multiple games, yet we haven't been able to evolve. I think as a community wise, because what's
Yeah.
interesting, this is something I'd love for you to explain your side on it. But in the
Hmm.
Halo community, we're very much isolated, and only recently have like the few directors that are left have like started coming together to promote each other's work. But
Hmm.
realistically, we like the hub, like that you're a part of, is
Yeah.
almost its own separate community compared
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like Innovative Monitor, who has its own set of people, and Chronicler 1177, where our bigger has his own community, and the Great Isaiah
Hmm.
has his. Very limited do those communities cross over. You might see a couple members in each of them, but
Hmm.
overall we're all very, very segregated, and there's
Yeah,
not a
and that I feel like that does hurt us more than it helps us almost. I mean, for the community as a whole. I do like agree that yeah, you have your own servers for your own channels and stuff, but like to me, I'm always looking forward to like actually talk to different directors because that's kind of how I like learn a little bit, you know. So I could definitely like for us on the GTA side, the exact same thing. We all have our own communities, and there are some of us in the server, but we all are kind of like we all have different people who in different areas, you know. So we're not really all like together,
It's
and
also
I
hard.
definitely
It's
understand
also
that.
hard to find this community because like it's very different unless that creator made a specific video saying this is my Discord server.
Exactly, yeah.
Like I tried looking it up just for fun to see GTA Machinima, GTA server, and I couldn't actually find any. Like
Yeah,
the only
it's very hard.
and like same thing for Halo Machinima, I found a couple people, but only people who added their server to the certain Discord board or
Yeah.
but for the most part, if you didn't have there's very few people who actually have Discord videos. Like Angel on My Shoulder has one, the Hub has a video for theirs. But that's
Yeah.
all you can
Yeah.
find, and I think that, as you were saying, really does hurt our community's health as a whole. And
Yes, yes.
before we can actually have a resurgence, I think there has to be a strong baseline for all the people who
Harmony.
are here,
Yeah, like a harmony sort of server where yeah, I agree.
which the hub tried to do, and I think it still has the potential to do. But right now, it
Yeah.
just doesn't have the activity it used to. It doesn't have
I
the
have noticed
push.
that when I first joined, it was around like 2016 around that area, and it was like every day there was like just maybe hundreds of people talking like every day. It was very very active back in the day.
And that's how, like, from there, that's how, like, I made the Gold Monitor Awards server because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they were popular, and then I linked up with Alistair, who helped push the GMAs, and that became a
Mm,
huge server and staple. But now both those servers are very, very quiet. There's a few active members in them, and
yeah.
it's honestly sad. And we really need to have some sort of group channel for not just the Halo people, but for GTA
Yeah.
people, for the Minecraft. Sorry, because there's some, but and I mean that all seriously because there are some amazing, like, take it, Minecraft people have more took the avenue of animation, but and
Yes,
it's but
yes.
they've made some amazing stuff like Black Plasma Studios with their Songs of War. It's
Yes,
very
yeah, yeah.
beautiful work, but none of us are any of us are supporting each other. It's
Yeah.
always just like
Or connected,
or
yeah.
connected. Like I can't reach out to Nightmare Films, but even
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's so huge, and take it that's for everyone. But also, I don't know who. I can't contact anyone in the GTA community, even if they're under 5,000
Yeah.
subscribers.
Yeah, I
Like,
was just lucky enough to find the hub, honestly. Like I think someone invited me to it or something.
and you and I
But
just met out of luck because we were. I think we were friends with Lawson, right? That's how
yeah,
we
yeah,
met.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
only reason. And you're the only GTA machinima maker in our server. I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Well, I'm honored. I'm honored.
Just give you a role staple to promote you out.
The only one. The only one.
But
Yeah.
I think with
No,
that
go
also
ahead.
is like when I think something else that hurt the community a bit is I think when we had the few new directors that came up, I think we
Mhm.
had a huge issue. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this wasn't the same in Grand Theft Auto, but there's an issue with the cancellation of projects. And take it, there's different reasons from time constraints to not
Yeah.
having interest anymore. But at what point do you think that there is something that you owe to your cast and crew and audience with the cancellation of a project? Or do you think that at any time it's just like, Matt, you know what, you're not in the mood, cancel it and move on to the next thing? And
Ooh,
how do
yeah.
you think that almost hurts your reputation as a director?
Honestly, that kind of leads into like a little bit about my history. I had a project. I think I told you about this
Mhm.
before. The martial law Reaper
Yes, the
Initiative.
sequel to your
Yeah.
highly viewed and amazing Marshall's Law.
It's not that good. But no, it's I had a trailer out and everything, and I definitely like I agree. Like if you have a lot of like voice actors and people sink a lot of time into it, there comes to a point where you just have to get it out, you know. And And truly, that kind of happened with my latest film too. I was working on it for so long that I was like, honestly, is it even gonna be worth it? I'm probably gonna get like 50 views on it. Not gonna have anyone like it. And I actually had the thought, what if I just canceled it? But then the same thought is like, how many people have put their time into this? I've already spent a year and a half on it. Might as well finish it. So that's kind of what happened with the Marshall's Law.
So what
but
gave
with
your
the Reaper
decision
Initiative,
to actually cancel it?
it mostly was because I was burnt out for a little bit on machinima making during that time. It was around 2017, 2018. That's honestly my entire YouTube channel was just going through a weird phase. I was just like, I don't know if I really want to do this or not. And what basically like stapled it, said I'm done with this. It basically was just having issues with like on set, like production, like body acting, because I was still on Xbox at the time, and it was just so hard to like get people to like do something that I need them to do specifically, and it was just causing a lot of stress and everything, and it was just not good. Like mentally, I was just like, it's too much, but basically, like just having the idea like you need like 20 people in GTA 5 where there's explosives and cars that don't need to be blown up. People get the idea of I'm like I'm gonna screw up the entire set. So a lot of like trolling and stuff happened, and it just kind of like I was just like I'm done. I can't do this, and it wasn't gonna be worth it in the long run. But luckily there wasn't enough like people behind the scenes that were putting their effort into it. It was mostly just all me doing the editing and like making the trailer and writing the script and everything. So the only person who would have affected would have been me. So I didn't feel too bad about canceling it.
So I guess this is a good segue into when we're talking about what remains, because so Marshall's Law was definitely a lot smaller of a project than what
Yeah,
remains
very.
by a long shot. So what was your difference in approach to coming to what remains? Because when you were writing the project, which congrats, you've passed 3,000 views now, which is
Yeah, thank you
awesome.
so much.
But like Marshall's Law,
Completely surprised by that, by the
yeah, I
way.
know you said you were gonna get some 500 views, like, and
Yeah, yeah.
you're over 3,000 views now on a 4-hour monster of a
That's
machinima,
why I'm shocked. That's why I'm shocked. Yeah.
which we'll get into that part.
Yeah.
But so, how did you approach what remains differently as to opposed to Marshall's Law, with what remains being like 4 times the size of
Yeah.
that project?
Ironically, it was about keeping it small. I know that sounds crazy, but like I had like with Marshall's, that was also kind of like a also like issue with the project. It was getting really convoluted. Like I was writing the script as I was filming, and that's a horrible thing. Do not do that. I recommend just finish the script, write it, get it done. I recommend that 100%. Do not record while you're writing the script. It is because things change, like you have a different idea or a different like a concept that you want to change, but you have to re-record and everything. But basically like that, I was just having convoluted ideas. They were not matching. Everything was just getting very complex and very big, like big scope sort of ideas. Because I had an idea for like a TV show to follow that. Like I had a whole series planned that was connected to that universe. But I was like, nope, nope, I can't do this because the whole trolling and thing. So when it came to what remains, I was like, okay, first of all, I'm gonna keep it small, and that's I know it's 4 hours long, but I at the time it was not gonna be planned to be 4 hours long. In fact, I didn't even know it was gonna be 4 hours long until I was done cutting the clips. But basically, I'll just kind of like go over the origins of how I came about what remains, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Like
no, go for it.
okay, because it kind of leads into why I made it 4 hours too. So basically it came out like after what Marshall's Law, the sequel. I was burned out. I did not want to do machinimas. I was like, nope, that was reckless. I did not like that. Too many people were not listening, and it was just bad. It was just bad experience all around for that project. one day I was just talking with a friend, and we just talk about like game ideas. We kind of nerdy like that. We like to talk about like game ideas that like would be a dream if we could play it. And it was a zombie game, and we had the idea of like you could like make your own settlement, and choices matter, and like a Mass Effects, but set into a zombie apocalypse sort of thing. And then I was like, this would be a really cool film, kind of like a Last of Us or I Am Legend. And he's like, yeah, that would be cool if we could make a film or something. And I was like, well, then I like a bulb, like a light bulb just came over my head, and I was like, oh wait, hold on, I can do that in GTA, because I already planned on like upgrading my PC and like getting it on GTA 5 or getting the game on the PC. And I knew I knew a little bit about the modding community. I knew that you can do a lot with it. So I was like, hey, yeah, I can do that. And so I started writing. I was like, okay, what should this be about? And this is where the whole idea of like keeping it small, keeping it a small story that has an ending that can be left just a one, like a standalone film, pretty much. It doesn't need to be leading into a series, doesn't need to be a sequel or anything. You just focus on this story. And that's kind of where the how I approached this one for sure was just keeping it small and focus on one story. And that's what I mean by, keeping it narrow. not like lengthwise, just like, keeping the story built into one film, essentially. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And so
Okay.
when you're making the project and you get to this ending of the cut, because you said you're focusing on one project, which
Mm-hmm.
but some people would say that a 4-hour machinima is essentially 2, maybe 4 projects.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say this bluntly: why on earth 4 hours? Like, did you think about it would be more easier consumed if it was broken up into 2 parts? What remains part 1 and part 2? Do you think that even though you've gotten over 3,000 views now, do you think that it hurt the project more being over 4 hours, or do you think it actually was the reason it got as popular as it did, being that long?
I well, to answer the second question first, I kind of genuinely believe like the length of the film actually brings people closer, like to like see why it's 4 hours. Like it's kind of like, whoa, that's a 4-hour video and it's in a video game. What? And it kind of like draws them in. I can also see how it affects like the other way. It's, oh my god, that's 4 hours. I'm not gonna watch that. But I promise you that was not my intention at the start. I was not like, you know what, I'm gonna make a 4-hour epic and I don't care. Literally, I had the idea of like, I just want to make a story about 2 people surviving. And I wrote all these scenarios down, and I was like, okay, now we just need to have like a beat with it. So I was like, this happens, and this happens, and this happens. And it kind of just led into a 3-parter thing. And I knew it was going to be long. I was thinking it was going to be around 3 hours or like 2.5, like an actual like feature length film, like a normal feature length film. But yeah, it was definitely not my intention to be 4 hours. It was just so many ideas, and I genuinely, like, when I was cutting the film up, I was just not thinking it was gonna get that long, but it did, and I realized that I need to cut out a lot, and I cut out like a lot more than it originally, like the time.
So don't tell me there's a 6-hour version of this film.
I mean, not a 6-hour version that you would want to see. I mean, probably a 5-hour, and a lot of it is just like a lot of like empty spaces.
Hashtag
like,
release the Martin cut.
You do not want that cut. You do not want that cut. I promise. Like, there was just like a lot of like camera angles that just weren't good. Like, I had a lot of like different shots of the same scene, if that makes sense, like different perspectives. And a lot of it was just not good, so I cut it out. Or there's lines that just didn't work, so I cut it out. There was a lot of empty spaces after someone's edited a line, so I just cut that out. So there was just a lot that was cut out that was pretty much useless.
So just
did not add to it at all.
Out of curiosity, do you know your retention on this 4-hour machinima?
Surprisingly, yeah, like for the first, I mean, it's not good. It's not gonna be good because it's 4 hours long, and I knew that going in.
But
I was
if
like,
it's
okay,
like
this is gonna be.
somewhat decent, if it's somewhat consistent, there's always going to be that huge drop off at the beginning. And of course, like you broke
Yes,
it off into
yes,
like three parts, I believe, right? Like within the
yes.
video. So there's probably going to be a drop after the first part, of course. But how consistent was it mostly?
It's surprisingly consistent because, like, again, like there is a drop off at the very beginning, but it's like right after the like intro part. Like the intro, and then there's Act One. It starts with Act One.
Man, what'd you
Uh,
do? What'd you do to them at the beginning that made them just like, yeah, you know what? This Martin fella, I don't. This logo's not really settling
I
with
don't.
me.
I have no idea. They're just like, Act One. Nah, I'm done. I don't know. Like, because like with each act, you do see a bump up in the retention, which I'm assuming people leave and then come back and watch the second part or something like that. That's what I figured. Like they leave the first half, they're like, oh, this is a 4 hour film. I'm gonna come back later and
Did
watch
you
it.
see a jump? Because normally when that happens, you will see a jump in the graph on each of those parts. And was there?
I do, yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah. There was in
interesting.
each act. There's a part. So I'm assuming people will like watch one act and then click off,
That's the
and then watch another and click
that's the
off.
smart way to do it. Honestly, I didn't do it that way. I watched the 4 hours straight.
Yeah, I mean, to each their own. I mean, I don't recommend sitting the 4 hours. I can't even do it. I'm like, okay, I'll watch the first act because I like the first act, and then I'll watch the second act like the next day or something. But because I mean, I was sitting there for days, months editing the film. I've seen it like a million times. So I just it takes to me. I can't sit another 4 hours and watch the entire thing. So
Oh, that makes complete sense.
yeah,
So, when we're talking about what remains, the not to give anything away, but
yeah.
you talked about how this was you wanted to make this one project and you were like focused on just this
Mm-hmm.
project. But that ending
Yeah,
ma- made it
yeah.
seem like you were wanting to add more to it. And so I just want to know, are you planning a sequel? Can you tell me anything about that?
Oh man,
Is
you're throwing that curveball at me. Okay. I no, I'm not.
okay.
I want to keep it a secret, but I'm working on other things. But for the ending, I'll explain that. I will say that halfway through like making this, I was like, I'm actually enjoying this because first of all, I don't have to deal with anyone else. I control all the characters. I get to write the script. I get to control everything. Like I'm a very like a control freak. I get to control every aspect of the scene. Uh, so halfway through it, I was like, maybe I can leave this open ended in case people really wanted a sequel. So I'll leave it to that. Like I'll keep it open ended. I'm not opposed to a sequel, but the ending definitely leaves it open.
Do you think What Remains 2, if it ever came to fruition, would be another 4 hour spectacle? Or do you think
Oh hell no,
it,
no, no,
you'd
no.
be able to
Uh,
bring it down so it's not 8 hours of What Remains?
yeah, for now on, it's gonna be. I'm gonna make sure that it's under 4 hours for sure. Like I will say, What Remains is my magnum opus. It's a 4 hour epic. I'm very proud of it, but I am not gonna make it a four. I'm never making a 4 hour movie, like unless people want a director's cut. But that's it.
I'm telling you, hashtag release the Martin cut. That's what I'm putting.
Oh, y'all will not be happy with this.
I'm
I
dropping it
promise.
on Twitter when this podcast goes live. I'm just gonna put it right there next to the podcast
Yeah.
link. But I guess like
Oh man.
with What Remains, it being such a massive project, do you have any advice for people who are starting out, or really for experienced directors who are wanting to create a huge project? Maybe not to the scale of 4 hours, but just
Yeah.
like the process of writing the script and putting it to film what actually your vision is. Do you have any general advice on how to manage that time?
Honestly, I'm still learning that a little bit. I'm working on a few things right now, and I will say that I've learned a lot over like making this. Like you said, I've learned like not to keep it small and everything. But I definitely recommend like everyone who is up to working on something big or even just a small film. Definitely like sit down and like write your entire movie essentially. Like make an outline of it and read it to yourself, because that definitely helps and points out like, does this make sense, or would the audience be confused? Because that definitely helps big time when you're writing. And I will say that after this 4-hour film, and I mean, people have been giving it praise for like it's good storytelling, which thank you, I appreciate everyone's kind words about it. But again, when I started off, I didn't think I was gonna be a good writer or anything, but I would definitely say, like, for new directors and everything, read your stuff, make sure that it makes sense, and yeah, just keep making stuff. That's how you learn, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I've learned that, hey, I made all these things. Yeah, they're bad, but eventually you're gonna improve, you know. So that's kind of my advice. Just make sure you read your stuff and make sure it makes sense.
And yeah, it's definitely just a scene of practice makes perfect, and it sounds like
Exactly.
sounds cliche, but like the only way
It's
you're
true.
going to get better is by just making something crappy.
Yeah.
Make something that
We've all been there.
make something no one wants to watch, or a lot of people are going to watch, and you don't want to see it on the screen again. Like
Yeah.
for me, that's Marked. For you, that is your Heathens music video, or literally your first 20 uploads that you unlisted.
Yeah, exactly.
That I had to track down just to.
I'll explain that. I did send you the unlisted
You
videos,
did.
and you're lucky because
I have a whole
like,
lobby of them just like stuck in DMs of Lawson's DM system, and they're all pinned, so I can go back and see them.
I'm so sorry. Like I know, like, some people are like, I want people to see my stuff, but like me, I'm like, I want to keep a standard now, because like even then I'm like, I don't even think I have martial law and stuff up there anymore, because I was like, yeah, you're like, you don't,
You don't trust me. You don't.
I'm sorry. I know that's like a frowned upon thing. I personally, when newcomers come to my channel and everything, I want them to see something that I am 100% proud of, and I'm also want to keep like a standard of quality. And I know that, like, What Remains, it's not a perfect film. By no means it's not a perfect film. There's a lot of glitches and facial animations that are weird, but and people said it didn't take away from the film, which I'm glad it didn't, because that was my biggest worry. Is like, oh, there's some issues with it. But truly though, I'm like, I want to keep a standard on my channel, and those old videos just don't hold up to the same quality.
But do you think that might, in a way, not necessarily alienate your audience, but makes a certain dishonesty with it? Like there's kind of a talk of it that also, like, the cool thing about YouTube is how when you're watching the most recent thing, you're like, oh, I wonder what his first video is. Like, I think Jacksepticeye's first video was a realistic snake impression, still up on his channel, still a terrible video, and it's like his first video. Like
I guess I can see that,
because like what's different with us is we're making films on YouTube. Like when you go and watch the latest Martin Scorsese film, or I saw this on some other podcast, they were talking about how when you go to see a new director's film, like Christopher Nolan, and you don't go and be like, huh, I wonder what his first film is, and oh, there pops up his college film. You don't have that same connection, whereas on YouTube you can build up that connection with your audience, that archive
that they can look at and see how you improved. I get that. I don't know, the older videos, I mean, I get it, they're not good, and I understand that people want to see how I improved and everything, but I'm also like, there are some really, really cringy stuff, so people might click off of it, and that's kind of my new mindset. Like, yeah, I have the audience now, and the audience that I have right now can see my stuff in like 5 years, 10 years from now, and be like, oh, he did improve from then, you know?
And you just want to create that separation from that early day, because that was kind of your building and
testing the ground, sort of,
just deciding if this was where you wanted to be.
Exactly,
and also, you don't want to create false hype for Martial's Law 2, because it's a highly anticipated project.
it was highly. But for like, 200 people.
Hey, 200 people, man. That's, I mean, that's more than like What Remains, because you were just like, like making the
Yeah,
project and not out of the blue. And hey, now it's like your
I
most
will
popular
say
project.
I will say, like, I'm very surprised by the number of views I got. Like, I told you earlier that I was expecting maybe like over months 500 views total. You know, because I first of all that was my first upload in I don't know how many years. Like, I've literally sat down and worked on this entire film for like 3 years, just because life and everything gets in the way. But I was genuinely surprised that it in the first day I got 500 views, and I was like, "Whoa, hold on, what is this?" Like, I was not expecting that many people to show that much support, and I'm truly grateful. Like, it definitely means a lot.
So just kind of a quick fun question to kind of end us off on. So
Yep.
is there a question that you wish I asked, or do you wish, like, if when someone else in the community starts a podcast channel, do you wish them to ask you, do you think?
Uh, I don't know. That's a hard question. Generally, I love talking more about the what remains a little bit because like it is a really cool project. I guess I would like to have a question about like how'd you create like how'd you get the voice actors lines and all that and like because there are unique things with that I like to talk about.
So how
So
did you
yeah,
get the
something
voice
about the production.
actors? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I mean not how to get the voice, but like how we did the lines and like
Because you did
uh
all live sessions with them, right?
I did, and I definitely recommend a lot of directors do that actually. Mostly because you get a really good performance out of your voice actors. Like, because I mean, I'm not gonna bash anyone, but like you send lines to a voice actor and they send it back to you. That's like a standard interaction between voice actors and directors. But with like a live session, you're in a voice call with them. You have the scene up or even the script up, and you can give them like pointers while they record or you record, and you generally get a better performance. And I definitely recommend that. And I did that with basically every single voice you hear in the movie, especially the main two leads, Astro and Envy. Those are the voice actors' names, Samuel and Lilith. We basically for a whole month we were in a session together and just recording lines, and it truly is like incredible just to work with that. You get like a real sort of environment, like filming industry environment, and I definitely recommend it.
Which I forgot because we had talked about that in the previous version of this podcast,
Yeah, yeah,
and
we
it
did. Yeah.
was from there I actually transformed my whole project of Caspian Prime into doing live sessions, and
Really?
it's so much more personable, and you can
Yes,
talk like
yes.
you can talk with each individual person, and it's a one-on-one session, and if they don't say the line correctly, you can give feedback instantly to them. You can say,
Instantly,
actually, I
yeah.
want you to say it like this, even
It
though
saves time.
I'm like not the best voice actor in the world. I'm typecast as a young Marine in Halo
Oh,
projects,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's you can still like give like what the tone you want. And I've been showing my face to all these people, so if they wanted to dox me, I guess cool. But but it's
Yeah.
like the whole thing of it
It's
is
very personal,
it
yeah.
feels like I remember like I had a pen and I felt like I was conducting because I was moving it around,
Yes,
and it just
yes.
felt so it felt like I was actually directing. It wasn't like, oh yay, he sent me lines, let's throw them in and hope they work okay.
Exactly. Exactly. You truly get like a feeling of reward, especially with I'm gonna praise Samuel or Astro and Envy, the voice actors and actor for what remains the main characters. They are phenomenal, and I'm truly grateful that I got them because in those sessions, like we could joke around too, like we were like laughing at certain things. Like I had the scenes up and everything, and they were like trying to mouth the words together, and make it match. So it was definitely like I was like watching them through a booth, like a voice acting booth, and it truly is just something. It's special. It's a very special connection you'll have with your voice actors.
It's it's also just fun. At the end of
It
the
is
day,
fun, yeah.
it makes the whole experience feel less corporate, and that there's actually people behind
behind
the
everything.
tags that they put on their as their gamer tags or their Discord tag. And you got, and like, I've had a few conversations where I've just spoken with them for like 2 hours after we did the lines, and we just hung out, and I've become friends with a lot of them because of it.
That's exactly what happened with my actors too. I was just like, well, let's just hang out for a bit. Like before we started the session, we'd just talk for like 30 minutes to an hour, just about random things, and then we'd get into the session, and then we'll talk about another hour after, and that's how you kind of form good bonds too. And they recommend, like, they'll recommend your stuff to them and their friends, so it definitely helps everyone in the long run.
100%.
It builds connection, and it truly is something that I recommend every director do, even if you really can't. I recommend at least like having some kind of good connection with your voice actors.
100%. And so now that we're wrapping things up, like, where can people find you, Martin? Like, any social medias, anything like you want to advertise or share out at the end?
Yeah, that'd be great. Obviously, I recommend my YouTube, Martin5050. No space between the Martin and 5050. A lot of people get that confused. And I'm trying to get going on Twitch a little bit, and it's the same thing. All my handles are the same thing, and Twitter, and that'd be great. Yeah, just. And
all those will be in the description if you guys are listening to this on YouTube, or if you're listening on another site, just head over to the Innovative Podcast channel, and you guys can be able to watch the last episode and just keep going with this. And Martin, thank you so much for interviewing again, and I hope we got some different questions, so it made it a little more interesting with doing it again. And
I enjoy doing this, man. I thank you for having me, truly.
Always.